Yes, there has been growth. I do feel that when this situation happens, when the suicide happens, you not only lose your person, you lose you. You lose everything that you had envisioned in life. Your whole entire path is wiped out. And at some point in time, you have to take new steps, take some different paths. You go on different things to see which way works or feels right. And you slowly become a different person. I constantly use the phoenix as a good example because you really do, as a suicide loss survivor, you definitely come out of those ashes and you rise.
Wow.
You rise as that phoenix.
Wow.
Not be pretty rising. It may be ugly and you're going to be bruised and battered, but you do rise.
Welcome to The Narratives of Suicide, the podcast where we bring hope, community, and a voice to those who've lost to suicide. It's where we dispel the myths of suicide. We dispel historical discourses and constructs that have been steeped in history for a very long time, and we're here with hope, love, and support for everyone out there who needs to listen to this podcast. I'm so sorry you're here, but I do hope it can give you something to use in your healing process, to be able to pick up the pieces of suicide and put them back together again in the best possible way that you can. So today on the podcast, we've got Meg all the way from Missouri, Springfield, Missouri. So lovely USA again. And Meg sadly lost her husband in 2008, which was 12 and a bit years ago. So we're very pleased to have her here to share her journey, because 12 years is a significant amount of time compared to other people. But obviously still your journey, Meg, has been your journey. So we'd love to hear about how it's been for you and how you've coped and what you've been through, because I know you've got a real story to tell. Really. Yeah. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really good to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to share and hopefully be of a help or a guide or some extra support to someone who may just be even starting in this journey that we have to endure as a suicide loss.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. I do think anyone listening can just take anything from any story, and everyone's story is so unique.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for doing this, because I appreciate it's not always easy to share your story in public, and I think a lot of us do that to help other people. So thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that a lot.
It's a good healing thing for me too. It shows how much of the growth that I've been able to conquer and gain from it.
Wow. So growth. So you do feel there's been growth for you personally?
There has been.
Yeah.
Yes, there has been growth. I do feel that when this situation happens, when the suicide happens, you not only lose your person, you lose you. You lose everything that you had envisioned in life. Your whole entire path is wiped out. And at some point in time, you have to take new steps, take some different paths. You go on different things to see which way works or feels right. And you slowly become a different person. I constantly use the phoenix as a good example because you really do, as a suicide loss survivor, you definitely come out of those ashes and you rise.
Wow.
You rise as that phoenix.
Wow.
Not be pretty rising. It may be ugly and you're going to be bruised and battered, but you do rise.
Wow.
We ride a roller coaster. A lot of people get off that roller coaster because they can't ride it with us.
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot too, about a roller coaster.
So when you say people get off, you mean other people come on the ride, but then they go different ways, they take different routes?
Yeah, you definitely lose a lot of your circle of friends.
Right.
A lot of people may not be able to handle this type of loss. They may not be able to handle that mortality.
Yeah.
They definitely don't handle it when there's a lot of anger from others and a lot of blaming others that the survivor is the fault. And that's where you start seeing a lot of people drop off because they just it's too much for them to handle. It's more than what they can take on.
Sure. So you experienced that. You experienced loss of friends too, friends, family, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots.
Gosh.
I can currently say that I probably have only 2 friends left that have stayed through that journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you cope with that?
In the beginning, it was really hard because it just felt like daily loss, just daily.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was over time, I just became kind of a little bit more hardened on it
Okay.
and started looking at it. Maybe I needed them for this time period on this part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I don't need them as much either.
Okay.
And I also learned that I don't need that ginormous circle, that just a little bitty circle is just as good as that ginormous circle.
So it feels like a letting go, a real, almost an acceptance letting go when you felt they weren't helpful anymore,
Yes.
when they weren't serving you, when it was just the time to let go and say, that friendship's happened, it was there for a good reason. Now it's not, there's no necessary good enough reason maybe. So now it's better to just accept and move on and be happy with those that are quality that stay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I changed. I mean, we all change due to this type of loss.
Yeah.
Any loss,
Mm-hmm.
but this type of loss, you're caught off guard. There's so much different of this type of loss that I changed. And I do feel that a few those people didn't like that change, didn't want to accept that change. So we parted ways.
Yeah. So that change to you, how would you describe that? Because I know it's very common for us to feel that there's a period before and then it's like there's a line the day it happens and then there's a me after. I hear that a lot.
Right.
And it's almost like our identity, you're right, has to be reestablished, reformed.
Right.
So I guess that's a part of letting go because those friendships were a different you then, that those friendships served a different you, but also you were a different you in them. So what do you think the biggest change has been in you? If you the biggest, because I bet there's been a few.
There's been a lot. Geez. I couldn't be there for them because I couldn't be there for myself.
Oh, okay.
And so if I was constantly there for them, and then when I really needed them to be there for me and they just couldn't, that was just hard.
Yeah.
And I had to start focusing on self-care. In my journey, it was probably about 4.5 years before I made the decision that, hey, this isn't working out. And oh, wait, it's because I'm not taking care of me.
Okay.
I had totally focused on everything else and everyone else to almost, I guess, evade his suicide, his loss. So I was just thinking that if I adjusted and moved all my energy around to others, I wouldn't have to deal with it. It wouldn't really be a reality.
So hiding from the reality with looking after other people.
Yeah, through that, and I was constantly being let down and let down and let down by those that I was caring for, that I finally just hit that wall and said, okay, I have to stop. I have to focus on me. I have to take care of me because I have my children that I have to be there for. If I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of anyone. I'm worthless. And so
there's a real reversal of caring for the people to caring for yourself. Literally, it sounds very much that recognition that. So was it like a resilient you that happened before that? Like a get on with it you? Like I still go to work, still do the chores, still look after the kids, just function every day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It was so much that I just get up and get going. And I could go for a day or two and then I would just collapse and I would have to be in bed for, the afternoon or the next day. Just don't talk to me for a moment. And then I would bounce right back up the next day and here we go again. So, and that was the roller coaster, those hills and valleys and those peaks and those drops and those turns. And it was that.
So 4.5 years of that up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Sounds like they were quite extreme, with looking outward, caring for everybody, actually not even looking inward, just collapsing to the point of, I don't know, sleeping and
Yeah.
Was that grief? Would you say you were like,
It was totally grief.
yeah,
I totally believe that I had horrible grief depression. I would have just bouts of it. And the longest one I had was 45 days where I stayed in my house.
gosh,
I was losing everything. That's when I had already lost the business. I had received papers that I was losing my home. I had the cars repossessed. I just collapsed.
yeah,
And for 45 days, I did not leave my home because I was losing it. So I might as well just sit here and just really just sit here.
yeah, nothing else. Just,
No.
was it like a give up for 45 days?
Yeah, I hit a bottom. I hit that really low bottom. And that's when I was like, oh, that must have been where my husband was at.
Mm.
I must have matched his bottom of his depression. And I was like, huh. And I woke up and I was like, okay, let's start packing. Let's start looking for a new place to live. Let's get out of here. Let's move on.
Wow. So there was something in you that switched, that just said, and that's at the point where you said, I'll look after myself now, was it? Or was that come later? Was that at that point, starting again?
It was pretty much that point, that I just took that. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was just a really weird experience.
Gosh.
And I was like, I can relate to where he was feeling. I could feel that with everything that was going on and going down. I could totally feel why he made that decision.
So was that helpful to make that connection?
It was.
Did you let go of any of the emotions then? Of, I don't know, anger, whatever might have been there, guilt, whatever was there
Yeah.
before that?
Yeah, because now I can openly talk about the guilt. I can openly talk about the anger. I can talk about what went down during that time period. So that's all I do now is talk. I tell everybody the story and share because
Great.
that was almost 5 years into my loss. And so that's probably like the point where I hit that rebirth of, okay, I'm either going to make some changes here or I'm going to continue to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And I chose to make some changes. And the changes were to let's start being vocal. Let's start sharing the story. I got on my Facebook page first and then I created an Instagram. And so I put it out there and I put a little trigger warning in a sense of if you don't want to hear what I have to say, then scroll past, unfriend me, block me, delete me, whatever you need to do, because here it goes.
Have it. Gosh, that takes a lot, doesn't it? I think for people to get to that point where they're ready to say, literally, this is what's happening, literally putting it out there into the social media world, wherever it is, but vocalizing it.
Yeah.
And vocalizing your journey. And that's how I connected with you, because I saw a post from you on somebody else's Instagram account explaining how you journeyed through. And I thought, wow, I just want to hear how that was, because I think when we see that from other people, how the solidarity comes, because we don't feel so alone, like you may have done for 4.5 years, just alone in that period of isolation, thinking all you can do is just cope with every day and get on with the normal stuff. There's a point where we have to switch, don't we? And the more I speak to more and more people, the more this living out loud comes out. And my research shows this sense of living out loud with our grief, not making it something that we take full responsibility and hold like a massive weight over our heads, internally. And everyone can do that in different ways. So you did it through social media. You did it through putting your story out there, kind of going, have it. This is my story. This is what happened.
Yeah.
What response did you get?
It's been pretty positive over the time. In the beginning, a few people were hurt, or offended. And then I would say, and I wasn't doing it every day. So I wasn't putting it out there every day. Just I would come across something that I would see or that kind of thing. Because I only, just within the last 4 years, have I really found on the social media
Mm.
sites, support groups,
Mm-hmm.
or of the suicide awareness things and so forth.
Yeah.
So that really gave me that jump of, oh my gosh, there's other people like me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so then seeing their stories and then going, oh, that's me.
Mm.
I was just like that. And then I would share, and here I am today. So when they were posting how they were having a bad day, I was able to come in and going, but okay, I'm ahead of you, and this is where you might be. So it started really just turning a whole new shape,
Yeah.
and it got me excited, and to where I was able to really share even more and really write and really put it out there of what it was like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
12 years ago, totally, you really couldn't say a lot of things about suicide. And I really feel that that's why my circle of friends disappeared,
Mm.
because it wasn't like it is today,
Mm-hmm.
12
Mm-hmm.
years to the present.
Yeah.
Now, yes, we're still having suicides, but people are more willing to talk and communication. And my family always teases me because communication is one of my keys that I talk about that's very important. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we're starting to talk about it. And so
Yeah.
it's a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
It's a horrible loss. It's a traumatic loss. And the ones that I have met have been so fascinating to get to know, become my friends. The strength that everybody talks about, oh, you're so strong. Yes, in some ways. We didn't really have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In that sense, we either had to step up or step aside. And so,
Yeah. I think that's the huge crux of it. It wasn't our decision, or it wasn't our, I don't even like the word decision. It wasn't our journey
no,
of suicide.
no.
We didn't invite it into our life, but it happened in our life. And then we've suddenly got to say, okay, this word, this construct, suicide, is now something I've got to get used to and accept in my life. But we almost own it as if it's ours because it's so personal, it's so deep, it's so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think then that's why this belief system changes, like you're talking about. This complete shift in our identity happens because we're completely shaken to the core and then have to start rebuilding. But it's interesting, I think, for you, that 4.5 years, you couldn't rebuild. There was something in that, that just had to go in that resilient strength, strong, cope. And I guess that may be because you've got kids. I mean, how old were they when it happened?
They were 13 and 18.
Yeah, so you were still, they needed you, didn't they?
Yeah.
Very much.
Oh, yeah, because it happened, and it's so hard because it happened in between their birthdays. Their birthdays are the same month. My son is the oldest. His is the beginning of September. My daughter is at the end of September, and it happened on September 17th. So it happened right in between. So it's a hard month. It's a bittersweet month for us.
Mm-hmm.
And being a teenager, they're dealing with other things in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to really try. I don't think at times I did a very good job, but they're still here today. They're still healthy and they're starting to be happy again. And they're,
Wow.
you know,
Oh God, we can criticize ourselves to death about what we do
right.
in the aftermath, how we tell our children, how we tell our loved ones, how we tell everybody else. When we're in that absolute state of shock ourselves, we could go over the coal. We could keep pulling ourselves over the coal, can't we? All the time for everything.
Oh, yeah. And even now I look back and go, oh, why did I behave that way? Or did I really do that? Oh, gosh, that's awful.
But then there's compassion for ourselves at that point, a compassionate, geez, what were we going through? And that, to me, in my eyes, anything's okay at that point. There's just compassion needed at that point for ourselves.
Oh, compassion totally needed.
Yeah.
Totally needed.
So a lot of people might ask you then, with the experience you've got with your children, if it's happened and you've got children, looking back, what do you think the best thing is, how to best handle it? Do they tell them the truth straight away? Do they tell them the truth? Because I think there's a lot of, how did you find it helpful for your children in terms of suicide as an idea that they had to come to terms with?
Well, because they were in the teen years, it was easier to be truthful. If they had been younger, I'm not quite sure how I would have handled that.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to put in a plug that in my community, we do have a children's grief center.
Oh, nice.
That we were involved with in 2 weeks after his death. And so it provides support for the children. It provides them a place that they can go and grieve and ask questions. And so we were fortunate in one of that. The other fortunate is our family counselor dropped what he was doing and was with us that night.
Right.
So we started receiving grief counseling within just moments after his loss.
Okay.
Just moments. So things were starting, so things were in motion.
So you kind of had a therapist that knew you before?
Yes.
Who knew the family? Okay.
Yeah.
So already had developed a relationship with you all, so that then, right, brilliant.
Yeah. So it was just really easy to
ask for help, to talk, I guess, communication, like you say, you're able to talk. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
honesty. So is that kind of how you work it with them? Honesty as much as possible about how you feel, about what's going on?
Yeah. I am pretty well known in my family that I'm brutally honest.
Okay.
I just come by it naturally. And so I have had to hone in on how brutal I can be. I've had to craft that. But I've always been the one that I would rather just let's get it out there.
Okay.
Let's get the honesty out there. It's going to hurt, but let's get it out there so that we can work through it.
Great. And they are at the moment as happy as they can be, if happiness is even a word that I don't even like either. Because it's like it's this construct, of.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're in their 20s now, 30s, 20s?
26 and 30.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you've really gone through that period well.
Yeah.
So you were strong for them. You were strong because you had to be. There was this place you were in for 4.5 years where you were just coping, just living, but then collapsing after a few days, doing what you needed to do, grief-stricken to the point where then up you get again and you're off again. And then it was at 4.5 years where you hit that rock bottom with other things happening in your life, like the businesses and all those things, financially, moving house, which I guess has got a lot of connotations to it. Moving house, if it was where you were married, if it was where you shared your house with him, and all of that brings a lot as well, doesn't it, with it?
Yeah.
But it was appreciating his position at that point when you thought, gosh, this is what it felt for him, before you could kind of see, I need to look after myself. And that's the point when you started to speak out loud and verbalize it. Is there anything, do you think, during that 4.5 years that could have helped you to speak out loud or connect or get help or look inward more? Do you think there's anything anybody could have done to help you at that point?
Yes, I really feel that if I had an access to some support groups.
Okay.
The support groups that were here, so he didn't have a history of mental health.
Right.
He had gone into a depression 6 months before his death because our business wasn't doing well. 2 weeks after his death was when our economy crashed. So there was the answer of why our business wasn't. So he didn't have that. So what was being offered here was more support groups for those that had a history of mental health. And I didn't fit into that.
Okay.
What happened on his day, that was completely out of the ordinary. He took 2 sleeping pills and it made him go crazy and he ended his life. So in that sense, I didn't have anybody that could relate. And I do feel that if I had just gotten out there on social media a lot sooner, I probably could have found something or could have created it myself. But, oh well.
Yeah, that takes a hell of a lot to do that. Jeez. Yeah,
I was already doing a lot.
Oh, no, gosh. And like you say, 12 years ago, I mean, mental health awareness has changed so much in the last 10 years. For your husband, I'm thinking about him as well. The support he got before probably was non-existent, and the shame and everything that comes with mental health with men back then was very different, and it's still terrible now. But obviously back then, we're talking about a different time, aren't we, in space, when these support groups are like specifically for suicide bereavement have only started popping up in the last 7, 8, 9 years, really.
Right.
But even less than that, some of them. So I think for you, I'm really struck by, how it's relatability. You wanted relatability. You wanted to hear the stories.
Yes.
So that's what you started to hear in social media. They feel like me. They get it. They understand. Oh, look, there's other people like me out there, not so alone.
Yes.
That's what could enabled you to speak out more.
Yes.
And to look after yourself more, I guess, because then you could kind of quantify, oh, I feel rubbish because it is rubbish. You know what I mean? Permissible to fall apart for 4 years.
Yeah.
If that's the right phrase.
Yeah. Yeah, because seeing it now, people are talking about how they're being judged and the assumptions. And I was like, I was too. I wasn't behaving like a widow. Well, nobody gave me the manual. Um, you know, and if they did, there's not going to be a chapter on suicide. It's going to be everything else. So,
yeah, hell yeah. Yeah.
And then finding all these groups now and going, and now I can breathe and I can go, oh my gosh. Yeah, I was on the same path as everybody else in the suicide loss as a widow. I'm okay.
Wow. And that phoenix is very striking to me, that idea that after this period of, I mean, I don't think we've even touched on how bad it was for you in terms of those 4.5 years. I think we've just scraped the surface, my senses. Can you pick out any, we don't want to go into it too depth, but what would have been the predominant feeling at that point? Was it guilt? Was it anger? Or was it a mixture of everything that just felt so overwhelming you couldn't even pick it apart?
It was a lot. It was the guilt and the anger. I was with him that day. I had no idea that stuff was happening. So I had that guilt. The anger of, you left me with this.
Yeah,
You left me to deal with the cleanup. You left me to deal with all of this.
Yeah.
And then, so the guilt and the anger really, they stayed on for a long time. Obviously, the 4.5 to 5 years for sure.
And then a bit more.
Maybe that was in the long run good for me, that I had that to push through, going, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong, and it was to give me that extra kick on my stubborn side of, okay, they think this, well, we're going to show them this.
Okay. So the anger in the background, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very much just like a subtle anger in the background drove you to show everybody that you would cope, I guess. So then you coped. God damn it.
Yeah. I was like, it wasn't pretty, but I did it.
It's important people know that it wasn't pretty. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
No, no. The grief journey is not pretty. It's not for the faint of heart. And unfortunately, the survivors don't have a choice. They have to go on it.
Yeah.
And you just trudge.
Yeah. And I think I hear you talking about the day it happened, there's no warning. So then the guilt that comes from, should I have seen the signs? You get all of that. I mean, I don't know anybody who hasn't said that, the whole, should I have done something different? And so what do you do with those memories now? Okay. So, if you get that memory coming back off the day, or don't you get it so much anymore? Because a lot of people say, do those memories ever fade? And that'd be interesting. Do you think they fade, or are they still just as present?
They go quiet.
Okay.
Some of the memories do fade, but there are times where something will come across, maybe a smell, a song. I'll look at the time and all of a sudden it'll hit you. And just a moment, and it could be a 5-minute moment of that day that I'll relive. And I was in our house for 7 years before I lost it. And for 7 years, I relived that day. And I told everybody the moment that I could ever get out of that house, I knew that I would lose those memories a lot, and that would help me.
Okay.
And so now there are times when I will find the journal that I had that I wrote in, and I wrote down that entire day. And so if I get that journal out, and if I open that first page, I will relive that entire moment because I wrote it out. So I would never forget it. But now at this time frame, it's not as crushing of a blow. I had a rough week this week because it would have been his 54th birthday. But I'm good today. I relived some birthday memories. I shared just a little bit on my social media stuff that it would have been his birthday. That kind of thing. And
that helps. That's great. Yeah.
It helped.
Yeah.
It helped because I've noticed in my time frame that My journaling or my writing has been my healing.
Okay.
I'm able to get that emotion out on paper, and that emotion leaves me, and I'm able to breathe again.
Okay.
That's what I tell anybody now.
Right.
Anybody that's going through any type of grief loss, start journaling, write it out, write that emotion out. That way you can look at it later on. You can revisit it if you want. You can journal it, and then you can turn around and burn it if you want.
Yeah.
Get it out there.
So it's just whenever you feel like it. It's not like it has to be regimented every day, or is it? Do you feel like it's something you have to force yourself to do sometimes?
No.
Because you really don't want to.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning. Now it just comes, it's like a habit, a new habit.
So this Phoenix idea that you're a different person, and you talked about growth, that's part of that, isn't it? You're dealing with your emotions through journaling. I guess did you journal before he passed away?
No. Mm-mm.
So you've learned that.
When I was a little girl, I had diaries, and then I stopped doing all that. And then I didn't pick it up until he died.
Yeah. So it's something you still do now, just to manage your emotions, full stop, just everyday emotions, just stuff that happens.
Sometimes I will write every day. Sometimes I will write maybe once every 3 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Now it's just whatever. If something's heavy, if I'm wearing it and it's feeling very heavy, that's when I know, oh, maybe I need to put it out there.
Nice.
And so that's when I put it out there.
Nice.
So I've started noticing that.
Yeah. You start to notice the heaviness. I'm carrying this too much. Get it out there, onto a piece of paper, away.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then at periods like this, you know that the anniversaries, the angel anniversaries, whatever people call them, these times of year, Christmas, which you've just been through. And I think we all need to be aware. For me, it comes with the season as well. If it's autumn,
right?
And my brother passed in November, but that only happened the first few years. When, the leaves have started to change colour in the UK. I couldn't work out why I was feeling low. And I thought, my body's kind of saying, this is a bad time of year. But that's weakened as well. And weakened is quite a good word for that. So every autumn, it's not the same. The seasons don't affect me as much as they used to.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's the knowing as well, that nothing disappears. Grief doesn't disappear.
No.
It won't, because we love them too much. We cared about them too much for it to disappear. And that shows how much we love them and cared about them, the fact it doesn't disappear. But I like to think it weakens. It's, in my case, it's weakened. It's the best word I can use for it. And I learned to manage it, like you sound like you have with your journaling. And so this growth you've had, tell us more about that. If you could say what kind of person you are now compared to you were through all of everything you've been through. This is going to be like asking you to sing your praises. You're not going to want to do this.
Well, I'm this. No. Well, I've always been a funny person. So now my humor is on the darker side. So there's a darker humor. Yeah. I've always been sarcastic. Now I am not going to hold it back. I am going to be sarcastic. But my growth has been that, so if I'm feeling something, surely another widow or widower out there is feeling that. Okay. So I'm trying to be more vocal and share, so that will open up a conversation and an opportunity for somebody else to share. And that helps me still heal, and that helps them heal. So in that way, I'm still doing the caregiving of some, taking care of others. Yeah. So that hasn't really changed a whole lot. Yeah. But the growth is that I'm trying really hard not to let that negative aspect, the ugliness of the suicide, still dominate. I'm trying to see more things that are positive now at the present. Okay. Right now, what's good in my life right now? Almost like the gratitude sense of what have I got right now? Yeah, I'm trying to relearn gratitude. Okay. Relearn gratitude. Nice. Yeah. Because it's definitely relearning, isn't it? As opposed to it just suddenly switches on to feel grateful. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So how do you relearn gratitude? Is that your journal as well? Is it writing it down, or is it just every day kind of thinking in the moment, oh, actually, what do I have right now? Yeah. For me personally, it's become more of a mindset. Yeah. I can't write it. I gotta think it. I gotta think it so that I can start feeling it. So instead of saying I'm okay today, I'm saying I'm good today. Okay. I'm starting to feel better, so that instead that I feel okay, now I feel good. So that's where I'm working on.
Yeah, and we need to work on that because we can feel guilty for feeling good, I think. To say, I'm having a good day. Really?
Right.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
So I think especially, so well done for, acknowledging that is really important. Because like you say, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're living.
Oh, yeah. And our loved one had something going on and had to say goodbye. And not we disagreed with that goodbye, but they had to say goodbye. They didn't want us to suffer as well. And so we have to try to look at trying to feel good again. Not so much always happy, because that's a whole other feeling. You feel good, especially when you're starting out as a widow and you were able to, if you were able to get up and get a shower in today, that's good. You did good. You were able to deal with a task of having to talk with something that had to do with the death benefits or something in the legal part of it or the insurance part of it. And they actually finally listened. That's good. That's good. You accomplished. So it's all those little steps. And now, and the farther in the journey, now I'm able to take bigger steps. So I might be able to do 3 or 4 of those tasks and go, I conquered that.
Yeah. It takes effort.
And one of those was a shower.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that honesty, that truth just in that. Yeah. And hear that, anybody that's listening, please hear that. Every small step, every small thing you can do to get up and take one step at a time and see those little, whenever you can, see those little nuggets, whenever you possibly can, see those nuggets of moments of, I did good. Yeah.
Yeah. There are days that I also, in the beginning, I used to wonder, well, is he pleased with my decision that I made today? And now, 12 and a half years later, it's like, you better be pleased because it happened,
I did it. It's happened.
Yeah. Sorry. You better be happy with that decision.
Gosh, yeah. Like you've taken back control a little bit. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's been fantastic. I mean, we're coming up to an hour now. I can't believe we've come up to an hour. It's been so really lovely to speak to you. Really, really. I want to say, I just sense the real warmth, care, and compassion coming through for other people. Like you say, you were caring and that care is still there, but I can hear it for yourself too. I can hear this real strength, the rising of the phoenix, to integrate the two. You can care for other people while you care for yourself, and you have to. And I love that idea of rising from the phoenix when you can, and you've done it in your own time. Like you say, it's gone from completely literally the ashes, those 4.5 years, and times in between after those 4.5 years when there's moments of the ashes, but you keep getting up, you keep standing up, you keep rising. Yeah, I love that idea. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say before we finish that you want to leave people with? We good?
We're good.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us here today. I hope it served you and given you something for your journey with suicide. Come back and subscribe, do whatever you need to do on your platform to help us to raise awareness of suicide, because the more we keep saying the word, the more we can gain support for us left behind, and the more we can raise awareness of the word and how society sees it and reduce this stigma that's so attached to it. Please get in touch. You can find me on my website, suicidegriefsupport.com. I really want to hear from you. But for now, please take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And remember, we are stronger together.